Welcome to another episode of the Eunice Ajim Show. I am your host, Eunice Ajim, and man, today I want us to talk about building a brand as a startup founder or as an investor. I had the opportunity to go to a conference this Saturday called Africa Startup Festival, and the whole panel was literally around how do you build your brand as a startup founder or how to build a brand as your company. And the first thing that I went ahead and told them is that nobody knows your company better than you. When you see a problem out there and you think I have a way to put a solution, that product pretty much becomes your baby, right? And nobody knows your baby better than you do. So typically when I speak to a lot of startup founders, I always like, well, you need I'm a software tech company, I don't have a physical product. There's no way I can be building a brand on the internet. I always tell them that you're wrong. There's so many ways that you can create content to be able to share about what your company is doing. It could be as simple as behind the scenes on how you guys are operating as a software company. It could be that you're sharing a lot about the problem that you're solving and why it matters. Another way you could think about it is how what are all the different things that your customers are thinking about. For example, if you're building a food delivery company, there's so many questions that your customers are thinking about when they want to order that food. Is it safe, right, for me to get this food? What is the time frame for me to be able to get this food to my door? And you can create so much content around that, because guess what, at the end of the day, your tribe is out there looking for you. That's the best way to find investors. That's the best way to find co-founders. That's the best way to find customers. That's the best way to find collaborators. I can't stretch how many times I've had so many opportunities come my way because I've been able to build a brand around investing in Africa and being the top resource for founders when they're looking for funding. So I'm going to take a step back right there. I'm going to give you guys my story. How did I get started? In 2021, after making so many investments across the startup ecosystem, I thought I have the credibility, but I don't have the network. And I knew that the only way people were going to know about what we were doing at Ajim Capital, the only way we were capable of finding our two clients, which our two clients are founders and investors. How are founders, the best founders out there, going to find Ajim Capital, are going to pick us when when they're looking for funding? And how are investors going to find us when they're ready to take that leap of faith and actually make an investment opportunity into the African tech landscape? And I said I could go the traditional way of doing a lot of cold outbound outreach, asking for referrals, really walking my way through the top the very slow way, or I can put myself out there and reach as many people as I can possibly think of. And I did a lot of research. There's obviously a lot of SEC regulations around what you can promote on the internet when you're building a venture capital fund. But I said, you know what, I'm going to register my company as a 506c. I have spoken so many times about what that means. But if you still don't know, a 506c pretty much means that as an investor, you have the capabilities of promoting your fund. But the catch is that you can only accept accredited investor into the company, and you have to verify them yourself. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there. I did a lot of research around what are the things that are holding people back from investing in African tech startups. And I just wrote all of those questions down and I started answering them. I started sharing a lot of content on the internet on how that could be fixed. I spoke to so many founders on what are some of the challenges that they're facing when they're looking to raise money. What are some of the challenges that they're facing when they're building their company, and just started creating content around that. And I think today the reason why so many people know of Ajim Capital is because I was not scared of sharing my opinion on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. And today there are just so many out there. I mean, we're thinking podcasts, we're thinking YouTube, we're thinking TikTok. What are 5 top mistakes, top mistakes that founders make when they're thinking about building their brand online. I think I mentioned a few things earlier. I would say the first thing is that they think that because they're not a physical product that they can show, they can start selling today. So they go and they build a product that nobody gives a dang about, and then they think about starting selling it after. You'll be surprised how many founders are building like full-blown MVPs without ever speaking to your customers, even understanding the life cycle of those customers, or even like understanding like, okay, like would they pay for this? Like if they were to pay for this, how much would they pay for? So I would say before you ever even build anything, or before you ever decide to like go out there and actually like build your tribe, remember I told you guys that I didn't just go out there and I started posting random content. I did a lot of research on like what are some of the questions that people are asking, and how can I put those questions together and actually answer them. Because guess what, like Google is such an amazing resource, and if you just type your niche and like what you do, you can find so many things that people are always like pulling out to be able to get started. Another thing in terms of mistakes is people start running ads too early. I personally think in the early stage, before you ever even start running ads, I would say definitely just start creating content and try to grow as organically as you possibly can. I think LinkedIn and Twitter, especially for tech founders, is one of the best places to get started. Instagram is great. It just requires so many more resources like creating video content and taking images. But if you can just write about your process and the different things that you're experiencing in the back end, it's a lot more easier to get started. Number three, another mistake that a lot of founders make, they think that they can't create content. They don't believe in themselves. They think creating content is so hard. What I've realized is that we all have different, like for example, for me, I can speak for Jesus, right? Like put me in front of a camera and I would talk all day. Like I actually realized that video content and audio content was actually like really good for me. So in my first few days, like people don't even know this, but like in the first few days of like not few days, like in the first couple of months of me creating content, it was literally me getting on my phone, recording the audio and saying what I want to say, and then going on my laptop, like transcribing that audio, going on my laptop and just like fixing it in like a blog format or like a social media post type of format. That way I'm not like sitting for hours trying to think what am I supposed to be writing. So if like writing is not necessarily like your forte, you can always do like voice recording and then transcribe it later, or you can do video shoot if that's like your thing. But I never feel like you have to like know how to create content, because at the end of the day, content is more like the way we speak. It's not like, I feel like I get so bored listening to like very corporate content out there where like there's no personality in it, like there's nothing. I would say number 4, and this is a question that like they put me on the spot and I'm like, what would be another one? What would be another thing, another mistake that people make when creating content? Another one is that they focus too much on their product and not on their personal brand. If you think of Flutterwave, you think of GB. If you think of Future Africa or Andela, you think of E. If you think of Money Point, I can't think of the name of the founder right now, but you think of the founder, right? Like you think of Facebook, you think Mark Zuckerberg. You think Amazon, you think Jeff Bezos, right? You think Tesla, you think Elon Musk, right? A lot of the times people think, oh, I don't want to be in the front. I just want to promote my company and nobody needs to know who's behind it. There are definitely companies out there that have been successful without ever having a face in front of the company. But I think some of the top and best performing companies that we have in this market, especially in this digital world that we have, the founder having some sort of a personal brand made the company so much more relatable. I know so many people. In fact, I bought a Tesla because I used to love the way Elon Musk thought, like his thought process, the way he thinks about things. Like that's why I bought a Tesla, like because I believe in his mission. I believe in like what he was doing, not so much because I even understood how like building a Tesla worked. So many people still speak about Steve Jobs today when they think about the iPhone, right? So that like I think getting out of your comfort zone and like building a brand is not always like creating a YouTube channel or like posting every day on LinkedIn, but like whenever you guys have like an amazing like a reward or like a challenge or something, like feel free to like provide value and like share your mission and like why you're building and like what you're doing. I think people relate so much more to people and to stories than they relate to like physical product. And number 5, the last but not the least, another mistake that founders make when they think about building their brand, they think only about in like educating specifically. I think that when you're creating content, there are 3 forms of content. I think that you can educate, which is like really just providing resources. You can entertain, which is you don't have to be serious all the time. Like one of the companies that I in my portfolio right now that I think is doing this so well is Eden Life. Like Eden Life does not just post about how their company work, they post about behind the scene with their customers. In fact, like just this week, they made a joke on Twitter about how somebody sent the founder like a free meal and then asked him if he were married. Like people love that. Like they love seeing the behind the scene. They love knowing that like your company is not as serious. They want to be inspired. Like so always think about creating educational content, but also think about a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of inspiration. All right, that gets us to the end of this video on really about building your brand as a startup founder or as an investor. I hope you found some amount of value in this video. And until next time, I hope that you are living the best version of your African dream. Have a blessed day.